So I'm wearing a black T-shirt. Oh, sorry, T-shirt. I think I've worn a T-shirt before on one of these streams. Maybe I have. No. So how is everybody? Who do we have? We have Leslie. We have Pim. We have Sean. We have Andy. We have Peter, Ken, Phil. How are you all? This is lots of fun. I love being able to do this live. So we're going to do a double whammy. We're going to listen to some mixes. We're going to talk about mixing. We're going to do some critiques. What else? We'll also do some questions. So feel free to answer some questions. And we'll also do some giveaways. We'll give away some stuff. We have a course coming out later today, strangely enough, with Clay Blair. And it's a Beatles course. It's a recording and mixing Beatles course. So that's going to be fun. Stay tuned for that. Who do we have? We have Jens, Daryl. Hey, Daryl. Paul, Scott. Another Paul Torbett. Russell. Hey, Russell. Hey, Dimitriv. F. Hey, F. Hey, Tom. Hey, John. Hey, Ken. Hey, Nayolt. Bless you too. Malimbo Limbo. Hey, Bill Hawkins. Yeah, I'm glad you put that in, Bill. I always call you Malimbo Limbo because that's what you go with, but it's nice to know your real name. Alex, Trip Willie 2, Small Picture, Jason, Real Raven, Ian, Ciro, Karsten, The Joy of Mixing, Shetty, loads of lovely people. I'm excited. So what we do, if you're not an Academy member, looks like there's a lot of Academy members here, but if you're not an Academy member, this is what we do every single week. Almost to a fault. I think we only about twice a year don't do them live, and that's usually because it's holiday or the holiday season, etc. But here we are. Jens says, Beatles, never heard of them. Yeah, new kids. Hello there in Scotland. Hey from India. Sick as a dog, but you're here. Well, feel better, Twin Spruce Studios. Hey, Pablo. So we'll do some competitions. We'll give away some stuff. And, of course, we will listen to some mixes and we'll answer some questions. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to listen to Andre Franson's mix of What's Going On With You, which is a Steve Magora track. And what we'll do is we'll open up and we'll read if there's any comments and stuff. What is great about our community is you can see people get in there and give critiques and opinions and help each other out. As you can see, pretty awesome. So Andre says, this is my third mix now, and I'm learning a lot by just trying different things and I make mistakes on the way. Please come with feedback. And then Paul and Mervyn and Mark and Peter Samuelson all got in there and gave opinions and helped out. So very exciting. Let's go and listen to Andre's mix. Now, for those of you who don't know, who are new, Steve Magora is the keyboard player of Robert John and the Wreck, and he's also the keyboard player for Toto. He's currently on the road with Robert John and the Wreck, and lots of Produce Like a Pro Academy members have gone to the show. There was a couple of people in Germany. He was in Cardiff yesterday, and he sent me a picture with him and Dan. Hey, Dan, they were together, you hear? So that's quite fantastic. So if you are around and about, go and watch Robert John and the Wreck play. And then I think Toto are going out on the road fairly shortly as well. So you'll be able to go and see him play with Toto. So he's an amazing singer, incredible songwriter, and I produced an album with him, and I produced a solo, which is what this is from, and I also produced 3 Robert John and the Wreck albums. So we have a long association. Let's have a listen.
Sitting there with your arms crossed, I know you're wondering. It's hard to tell if our love's gone. It got me wondering too. 'Cause every time I try to talk, you don't wanna listen. No. You can't expect me, baby, to know what's going on, to keep holding on to you. So baby, baby, won't you tell me, what's going on? Oh, baby, tell me, what's going on with you? Oh, baby, tell me, what's going on with you? Oh, need you to tell me, what's going on? Whoa. What's going on? Oh, baby, won't you tell me, what's going on? Oh, baby, tell me, what's going on with you? Baby, tell me, what's going on? Baby, I gotta know, what's going on with you? 'Cause baby, I gotta know what's going on.
So on the whole, it's a great mix. So a couple of people commented on this, it's a couple of people commented on this, and I agree. So about the drums. So what's interesting about this? The two things I think that jump out to me are the drums sound good. They sound natural. I think a lot of people commented on that, and I love that. And I'm not hearing like a generic, metal kick sample put in there and a ringy snare or something. The things that we tend to gravitate towards to make drums cut. I mean, if you want drums to cut, you put an aggressive, clicky kick drum and a ringing snare, and that will always solve the problem. However, it will change the nature of the track. So what Andre's done here, which I love, is he's kept the integrity of the drum sound. So it sounds like the drums he recorded, which is wonderful. Really natural sounding. However, as I talked about a couple of Fridays ago, we talked about using saturation because somebody was asking about how they can control their drum transients. And this is a perfect example of why that should happen. Because the drums work, and somebody said, and I get this and I agree, hey, it looks like the drum transients are poking out, but it also sounds about the right volume. I agree. So the thing is that it is essentially you're hearing like the initial snap of, not tiny amount of the snap, but quite a chunky amount of snap on the kick and the snare, which allows them to poke their head through. But you're not hearing a huge amount of the body because it's all the initial hits. So let's have a quick listen. Now I've talked about that, have a listen.
Tell me, what's going on with you? Well, baby, tell me, what's going on with you?
So it's nice. It's a really good drum sound. But it is definitely relying on that pap, pap, pap. And then there's times it disappears. So what you get is you get the snare cut, cut, cut. Don't hear it very well. Cut, cut, cut. Quite loud. Don't hear it very well. So the initial reaction, I think, for most of us would be to maybe go in there and do some rides. And that's fine. Push it up where you're not hearing it. However, I think what it's lacking is a bit of more girth to it. And I don't just mean low mids and stuff. In fact, I think there could be less low mids in the track. But I mean like a parallel on the drums, maybe a tiny amount of saturation on the initial transient so it sucks in. So what you end up doing is like at the moment we've got like a spiky initial hit on the kick and snare, particularly the snare. and it's great, but it's only that. We're just hearing more of the pap, 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 pap. It's great. I like it, but I need to hear a bit more body. And if you could get more body in there, you could actually have the drums sit more in there. Because at the moment, we're using the volume of the drums to sit in the mix. Now, does that make sense? What I mean is like, just keep turning them up, and like, oh, great. They're fine. However, I think the drums could sound fuller and a bit bigger, but not have those initial transients poke themselves out. So I would try, Andre, personally, I would try, maybe keep your drum sound, which has a lot of integrity, and create a second bus for your drums and parallel compress that bus so there's more energy, more of like a just like. And I would probably just take the kick and the snare, because once you parallel compress a kick and snare, the natural elements, all of the background and the cymbal bleed and the room and stuff is going to come in there naturally. There's no reason to have to put in a bunch of those elements. Maybe you want to, but initially just try those. Squash those and then bring them up underneath. And then, crazily enough, take those two buses, the parallel one and the clean one, and send those both to another bus and simply just put some limiting on there, just a tiny amount, just to shave the top of the transient. And what you'll find is that you won't visually see, not that you should be looking at music, but you won't suddenly see these transients poking up quite so much. But the drums will sound louder and fuller in the mix, allowing you to pull them down into the mix without just relying on the initial snap. I think you'll still have the same integral drum sound that will sound really, really natural, but they'll sit more in there and give you a little bit more opportunity to play with stuff. Now, the next thing is there's definitely a build-up in the low mids, and the bass itself is probably loud in the low end. It doesn't mean it's loud, because this is something we have to think about. What I talk about quite often on bass guitars is to get into frequencies like 750 or 850 or 1K or 1.5 and push those up. So there's a bit more nose to them. And that nose will allow the bass to be loud in the mix without the low end dominating. So have a listen now with that. Think about the bass now.
What's going on with you?
It's a great bass sound. And the low end is perfect. Like the low end is like round and beautiful and really nicely contained. But I think what you could do is just push up some of those pure mid-ranges, you know, find the 750, 850, 115 kind of area and just push them up just a little bit. And just see now the bass will probably start to sound a little bit too loud. But what you can do now is, because you've got more mid-range presence, is bring the whole bass track down maybe a dB and a half. And then the relationship between the kick and the bass will start to feel really, really good. Because the low end of the kick drum will now be able to blossom and won't be quite so covered by the bass. But that low end will still be there. And then I think, last but definitely no means least, is just kind of look at the 350 area, the low mids. There's a lot of overlap in there. It's hard to tell at the moment because of the drums, but have a listen.
Well, baby, tell me, yeah.
You see that kind of 80 to 100 area where the bass loves to live. It's very dominant in the mix. But I think it's just a case of not turning down the 80 to 100. I think it's a case of pushing up the mid-range, the nose of the bass, and then turning the bass down so that you can get a more even kind of 80 to 100 area. So you still have that area in there, but you're just focusing, you know, because turning the bass up isn't necessarily about turning the whole sound up, but finding elements, and turning it down isn't necessarily about turning the whole thing down. It might be just pulling down certain elements. I think in this instance, I would reach for more mid-range, less volume, and you've got an amazing bass sound. And it will open up the track, because the domination of 80 to 100, when you start looking at low frequencies, is probably controlling a lot of the bus compression with the transient sticking out on the kick and the snare. They're probably the main thing that's hitting bus compression. Once that's under control, the rest of the track will sort of open up because it's not being pumped by those three elements, kick, snare, and bass guitar. Low end in particular, controlling it.
Well, baby, tell me, what's going on with you?
I also think the kick, snare, and the bass down, so you think about this, is going to allow those guitars to breathe. Because at the moment, the guitars are like, you've got like this little funky guitar on the left, you've got this other slightly more driven one on the right. And at the moment, they're there, but the inclination is to push them louder. You know, my inclination is to bring piano up, bring the guitars up, bring the vocals up. But think about what I just said. So bring the vocal up, bring the guitars, both the guitars up and the piano up. Well, that's everything that's not the drums and the bass. So what we've just discovered is if you control the bass, bring it down, bring more mid-range, less low end, control the kick and the snare. So now that the drums don't need to be as loud to be heard, what's going to happen? Well, all of the other elements are now going to be louder in the mix. So it's a much better idea to go and find the problem areas, control them, than it is to just keep turning everything up. Because then you're going to get into that chase to tail, because now you've got two guitars, a stereo piano, a vocal, and some background vocals. So you've got 5 elements that you could be turning up, or you could just take drums and bass and control them. So I know that all sounds very, very simple, but it is one of those things where a lot of the time we can end up chasing our tails because we focus too much on, oh, the guitar needs to come up, oh, now the vocal needs to come up, now this. And we get all these mid-range, high mid-range things, you know, detail area, like pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, when really we could just be controlling the things around it. But I do agree, the guitars need to sound a bit more exciting, but solve the big problems first. Try when you're mixing or when you're listening back to your mix with a rest period, you know, taking hour off or something like that, or coming back the next day. Try thinking about what is the big global issues that you're going to try and control, because that's going to shape things so much more than getting into like little tiny minutiae of half a dB there, if you're in that place, that's a wonderful place to be in, where you're just talking about riding the vocal over a couple of fills. Great. But I think in this issue, it's a global thing about controlling the drums and the bass. Seems like it's not best to boost 80, 100 on the bass as a starting point. Oh no, I'm fine with boosting those areas as long as it's controlled, you know, because one of the things about, you know, when you're playing a bass guitar is you'll get dead spots on different areas of the neck. So you might slide up to somewhere and the you know, all the low end is disappearing. So boosting it but controlling it is really important. That's why I personally like the R bass. It's boosting in the 80 area. But I will always, almost always, depending on the bass player, some bass players like a Lee Sklar or a Dan Rothschild or a John Button or a Sean Hurley, the bass players like that I work with will never have those issues. You know, Dan in particular and Sean in particular, I mean, Lee, when we did I mean, all those guys, when I think about it, they play so evenly that I'm not really having to do too much work with compression. I will compress it, of course, it's just to make it sit in the mix, but not a lot, because a great bass player will know to touch lighter and get more low end on certain areas of the neck of the bass that they know and love. It's just instinctive. And then maybe they can hit it harder with an open string, just a bit harder, which actually will reduce the low end and get a bit more kind of clack and attack. Great bass players who know their instrument can really play beautifully balanced, and they'll probably have a more expensive and beautifully balanced bass. So it really is kind of, you know, fixing a problem based on an individual performance. This might be me playing bass. I can't remember. I think I did, and I'm not the world's greatest bass player. So, you know, I would probably use the MV2 after the R bass, because I can bring up the low level information and then reduce the high level information and make my bass playing a little bit more even. So anyway, lots to talk about. This is fun. Do we have any questions? Let me see. Any questions? Bass Rider. Yeah, I like the Bass Rider. I used to use it a lot until I discovered the MV2, and then I realized I didn't need the Bass Rider. Bring up the guitars to make a wider cut, 50 hertz, and boost mid-range. Yeah, King Yellowman says, I'm a drummer, I can't hear anything. Oh, did you get Kiff? You got the Grindstein pedal plugin? Yeah, it's really cool. I was going to say Lee Sklar. Yeah, Lee doesn't like people to compress him because he wants to be able to play and perform. When I recorded him on that charity single we did with our good dearly departed friend Dick Wagner, he made a point of saying, don't put any compression on me, and I hadn't. But, you know, and I think he talks about this in interviews. He's like, you know, good engineers allow him to perform properly. And, you know, so he is controlling the dynamics of his instrument. I mean, when you get a musician whose only job is to play one instrument, it's a blessing to work with people of that caliber who really, you know, find that important. Okay, great stuff. Next up, we have Mervyn. I didn't see any questions come up, did you?
No.
No, okay, we're moving on. So next up is Mervyn, and Mervyn says, hi, so another largish track count and fun to mix. Mainly trying to get some front to back depth on this one. Comments welcome. Thanks, Mervyn. Excellent. Please hit that like button, or as the YouTubers say, smash the like. Yeah. Smash it. Or you could just hit it. That's fine. And we'll do a giveaway in a minute. We'll do a year's membership to the Academy. I know a few people are asking about it. Yen says it doesn't like to be compressed either. That's why he doesn't ride the subway. Boom, ching. All right, here is Mervyn with Little Love. Oh, this is a great old track. I love this one.
Can you come over here and help me out? I got a problem in love. I gotta work it out. You see, I've got a man, and I love him so. But I got a little love that I want even more. Oh, every time I fall in love, it happens again. And I told myself I wouldn't give in, but I met this crooner with big blue eyes, and he pulled me in with his lullabies. I got a man, but you got me tied in knots so I can't see. Sometimes I ask the God above, am I always gonna have a little love? Little love, little love, always have a little love. Little love, gonna have a little love. Little love, am I always gonna have a little love? I wonder, should I let you go? Cause it feels so bad, and I can't sleep cause you're in my head. And I see all the things that you wanna do, but it hurts cause I know that they won't come true. Cause I've got a man, but you got me tied in knots so I can't see. Sometimes I ask the God above, am I always gonna have a little love? Little love, little love, always have a little love. Little love, gonna have a little love. Little love, am I always gonna have a little love? Gonna have a little love, gonna have a little love, gonna have a little love. Am I always gonna have a little love? Little love, gonna have a little love, gonna have a little love. Am I always gonna have a little love?
Pretty fantastic. Yeah, I mean the issues on this are fairly minor. I think everybody is saying the same thing about the kick, and I agree. what we'll do often here, so let's just kind of go to like a 60-ish area where we would probably 50 to 60 hertz, where we would instinctively want to hear the thump on the kick.
And I told myself I wouldn't give
So you see there, as soon as I got to like 55, 56, it's all bass. So the bass guitar is really dominant in that 50 to 60s area. So I would just increase your slope on the bass just a little tiny bit. So high pass a little bit more aggressively in that area. Don't get me wrong. Do not remove entirely 50 or 60 hertz from your bass. That would be foolish, and that would lose the roundness of it. You just need to get a nice gentle high pass slope on it. So you're just controlling it so it's not super boomy down there. I would get 60 and do a gentle kind of high passing. And to be honest, it probably just will flatten it out a bit. It won't just remove it. So just a gentle one there. And then, the kick doesn't have to be subby, but I would like to see it centered around about 60 hertz with naturally pulling up 35, 40 with it. I've said this a lot, but I'll repeat it again if you're new. I have a DBX subharmonic synthesizer when I'm mixing hybrid through the console, and that gives us a little bit of a 40 hertz kind of underneath. And so that, you want to make sure that it's there in the kick drum. So pull up your 60, you can bring up 50 and 40 and 35 will come up naturally with it with a nice wide curve. However, what I've been teaching for a long time, and all of you I think are getting it in the academy, is feel free to cut a little 80 to 100 out of the kick drum. Because if you're going to boost that 60, what's going to happen, that's going to come up. You're going to get your 35, 40, 50 is going to come up as well. But we're also going to bring up a lot of like 80 to 100 as well, which is okay, but it's also going to smother and strangle your bass down there. So what I'll do is I'll do that boost, but then I'll also do a little dip in that area just to flatten it out a little bit in that 80 to 100 so the bass will bloom in there. It's a trick I've been teaching for years now, and it's a huge part of low-end management. So definitely that's what I would recommend here, Mervyn, quite dramatically. There's a few conversations about the reverb, etc.
Am I always gonna have a little laugh?
The clickiness on the kick is a little bit much for me for a kind of a classic, kind of retro, look. If you go online and find the artist, she has like a beehive. She's like 50s, late 50s, early 60s kind of lounge music. It's definitely got a style, which is fantastic. But I would say essentially getting rid of that clickiness on the kick will help the drive of the low end, not help the drive. Drive of the low end should be more about it, but the clickiness normally would help you hear it. But I don't know if I want that in this situation. I don't want that modern kind of tick, 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 because it sort of just takes away from the retro thing. The balance when you're doing these kinds of things is to make people believe that there's a retro feel, but to make it modern enough to compete. Because quite frankly, if we were to put on a song with exceptions, but to put on a lot of songs from the late 50s, they sound pretty lo-fi by today's standards because they don't have the extended low and high areas that we're used to. We're used to hearing 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, going up, like super extended high end. And we're also used to hearing 20 to 40 hertz in our mixes as well. You go back to any vinyl of that period, I guarantee there's barely anything or nothing at all below 70, sometimes even 80. So the kicks were like kind of like little thumpy sounds, like doo, doo, doo. The low end is something that really came in much, much later and didn't really get perceived until, frankly, most CDs, until we got digital, because a lot of the time, if you put 40 hertz on a dense track or below, 40 to 20, the groove would be massive and the stylus would pop out on vinyl. So you're not going to hear, there are exceptions, but you're not going to hear many songs with super, super low lows. So it's always a balance between making something sound modern, but also sounding like retro enough so that you're listening to a song like this and you're going, hey, I got a vision of a lounge act, with like glitter, tinsel hanging from behind them. You know what I mean? Everybody's dressed in a suit. The band are in a suit. The girl's in a beautiful late 50s, early 60s cocktail dress with a beehive. You get those visuals when it's done right. That's what mixing's all about. It's not always about boosting and cutting frequencies. Of course it is, but it's about creating something that you can visualize in the music by keeping the retro, but making it modern. Now, as far as the reverb is concerned, it actually doesn't bother me. I think when I hear the saxes, they're pretty spot on, but I do wonder whether a dirty slap could be on there. Just started to talk about the saxes now, but I know, Martin, you're surprised. The baritone. Are you shocked?
Every time I fall in love, it happens again, and I told myself
there's a lot of really interesting kind of, things going. You've got like the Vox Continental organ, you've got the Barry. I mean, I hear the reverb on it, but I think a little dirty slap on that would really, really help.
You go 'cause I feel so bad, and I can't sleep 'cause you're in my head, and I see all the things that you wanna do, but it hurts 'cause I know that they won't come true. 'Cause I've got a man, but you got me, tied in knots so I can't see. Sometimes I ask the God above, am I always gonna have a little love? Little love, always have a.
So yeah, for me, the saxes could have a little bit of a dirty slap on them. I think the same thing on the vocal, just a little bit, just to kind of make it feel a little bit more retro. And what I mean by that is like a tape delay with not a lot of high end on it, a little tiny bit driven, but not full distortion, just like a dirty slap. I mean, my Echoplex is missing. I was about to point to it, but it's not here. But like an Echoplex kind of old tape sound, but quiet, like a little bit of a slap. You're going to have to go through with the horn sections and ride them in areas where sometimes they're a little loud and sometimes they're just barely audible. The acoustics on the original kind of come in on the choruses like a ja-da, and they help drive it. And if there's one thing I'm missing is just that little push. Have a listen here.
Sometimes I ask the God above, am I always gonna have a little love? Little love, always have a little love, gonna have a little love, am I always gonna have a little love? Gonna have a little love.
So I think honestly, once the clickiness of the kick is basically reduced quite dramatically, the high end is going to be a little bit easier to work with, because at the moment that tick, 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 tick is pretty dominant. It's loud. It's really there. There's some strings going on, which I want to push up. I think that and the acoustics in the choruses will really help the song feel like there's some more drama coming in there. This is one of the things is like, it is an old sounding retro song, but we can employ a lot more modern techniques, which is more automation. Most of the time it was people on faders and everything was bounced to like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 tracks, very limited. So they didn't have a lot of opportunity to create the kind of dynamics that we can now. So in this, let's push it. Let's go and get those acoustic guitars up and really kind of hear, where it could go. I think it's one of those situations, Eric, where it's almost like if we had the original mix, we could show some of the pros and cons. I think we'll do that for a future one. This one could be good because I mixed it hybrid on a console. And if you're in the Academy, you can definitely go in and listen to my mix, and you'll hear, how I use the acoustic guitars to like kind of push it and use the strings for a little bit of kind of ear candy, plus that beautiful kind of Vox Continental. Great mix. Things to work on, but, overall, it's really nicely balanced. All right, let's do the first of our giveaways. Let's do the first of our giveaways. So what do we want to know? I wonder how many, what was I going to say? How many members here are actually in the academy? So this is an easy question. If you're in the academy, say yes. And if you're not in the academy, say, no, I'm not in the academy. Yes, I am, and no, I'm not. And that's all you have to do. And then Eric will randomly pick somebody here, pick somebody here for a free academy membership. And if you're already an academy member, you'll get a 1-year extension. And so, yeah, that's all I want to know. Are you in the academy? Just literally yes or no, I'm not. And Eric is going to randomly pick you. So dum-de-dum-dum-dum. And again, if you're in the academy and he picks you, you'll get a year's extension, or you can get any ProMix Academy course that you want. Do. Oh, wow, there's a lot of academy members here. Da-da-da. Wow. That's amazing. That's cool. Amazing. All right. I'm going to go and get... So Bill is up next. Malimba Limbo said, I took 2 months off from mixing to focus on my other creative job, writing, and published 2 books. Wow, congratulations. I've just gotten back to where I have a little breathing room to work on my music, and this week I jumped back into the mix. I love reggae and couldn't resist this song. To me, reggae should be more ear candy heavy. To make space for that, first thing I did, cut the most of the piano. Added modest saturation and reverb on the vocals, light on EQ on most instruments with the exception of the drums and the acoustic guitar. Delay on Tim's guitar and automated pan. Delay, volume and feedback as needed. Lots of automation on all tracks and buses. At some point, I forgot about not doing too much and started to tweak everything. Automation, compression, EQ, a little MV2 and some distortion to the bass. Whatever it took to make it feel like a warm Caribbean breeze. I had so much fun, got some great advice from fellow plappers. This is the fastest I've ever mixed, 9 hours. Congratulations, including setup and relearning all the schnizzle I'd forgotten. Thank God for the weekly feedback Fridays to keep my head at least a little in the game. Wonderful. Okay. We're going to listen to it. And remember, the question is, are you a member of the Academy? And if you are, say yes. If you're not, say no. And Eric will pick you at random. Okay. Here we go.
Wake up in the morning, jump right out of bed. Rain is at our window, fall is here again. Darling, quit your yawning, sleep some other time. It's such a lovely morning to run around outside. I don't wanna wait for summer to come, 'cause I'm warming up with you in my arms. Some might say the cold is no fun, but I'm warming up, yes, I'm warming up with you.
lovely mix. I think, there's a lot. I've read the comments. And Eric, do we have a winner? Did you pick somebody?
Yes, Sebastian Romero.
Sebastian Romero. Were they a member or not?
They were not a member.
Oh, wow.
Be excited to be.
Yay! Sebastian, congratulations. Welcome to the Academy. Great. We'll do this 2 more times as well. Don't worry. Stick around. Tell your friends. And we'll do 2 more giveaways. I like this mix a lot. I think the 2 things, and I do agree. I do love bottom snares on a snare. I do. I was listening to, every day I listen to half a dozen songs over and over again. I'm a huge fan of certain things. And one of the tracks, I noticed there was a really amazing controlled bottom snare on Ashes to Ashes, by the way. It has what I consider the best natural snare drum mix. It's recorded in 79, released in 80, so there's definitely no, sound replacer on that one. But it's a really beautiful controlled snare. So I do love a bit of a bottom snare. I think in this one, it might be just a little bit 10% too heavy. That's my personal taste. Have a listen again from the top.
Wake up in the
It's pretty close. I mean, I love the fact you can hear the the kind of tuning on the snare. Have a listen again.
wake up in the morning. Jump right.
It's a pretty tasty, natural drum sound. Bill, I think what I would do is 10% less snare bottom. I don't think it needs to go away entirely. I like what you're doing. Just bring it down ever so slightly, and then just push the snare top. So just like a little, maybe a dB up on the snare top, a dB down on the snare bottom. Because now you've created a 2 dB difference. It's another thing we're talking about. Incremental things can really make dramatic sounds. That would change quite dramatically. 1 up on the snare top, 1 down on the snare bottom, I think would still give you the same snare, but just a little less snare bottom. Secondly, a little bit more on the kick, just a little tiny bit more oomph on the kick. It hasn't quite got the kind of low lows that I want. And then there's another discussion.
Rain is at our window. Fall is here again. Darling, quit your yawning. Sleep
Yeah, I'm just kind of searching around a bit. I feel like you could pull out a little bit of 90 hertz out of the kick drum and just replace it by putting a little extra 60 in there. Don't get me wrong, I don't want metal kick. I don't think it needs to be but just a little bit more 60 and a little less kind of 90. And you could widen that up a bit so it touches 80 and touches 100. And then I think the other thing is it's reggae, so the bass has to go low. And it's me playing bass again on this track. And, I just want to hear... This is one of those situations where you could exaggerate the low lows on a little bit.
so nice. I wanna wait for summer to come. I don't wanna wait for summer to come.
So there, for instance, just for Snitch and Sniggles, because it's the only instrument playing except for the acoustics, I'm actually going to go to 80, just for illustration purposes, and boost the schnizzle out of there. I got 3 dB and it's wide. Have a listen.
so nice. I wanna wait for summer to come. I don't wanna wait for summer to come. I don't wanna wait for summer to come. 'Cause I'm warm.
It's interesting. Now what I've done is I've gone to 70, which is between where I want the kick to be focused and between where I want the bass to be focused. And to be honest, it's kind of working. I think a good mastering engineer would probably go down to this area. I'm obviously being very aggressive. I've got 2.5 dB of boost. But it is kind of working to illustrate our point. We've got a little bit more low lows on the kick and a bit more oomph out of the bass.
so nice. I wanna wait for summer to come.
Thanks, Raoul. Eric, read the latest comment. He's only been doing it about 4 or 5 years. He'll get there one day.
I'll wait for summer to come. I don't wanna wait.
Although this is public.
Yeah, but I can tell them what season and I'll post the link.
Yeah, okay.
I'll wait for summer to come. I don't wanna wait for.
Yeah, I could shelf it. I like that wide cue, though, for illustration. And again, I will never try to talk mixing by master bus. This is just to illustrate where to go. So I would go down and just open up your low end bill on your bass a little bit. You know what I mean? Just let that low end breathe a little bit more. It's very tight and controlled at the moment. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of mixes I've done where that makes perfect sense, especially when you have heavy guitars. If you've got heavy guitars which also have a lot of girth and low end down there, you're trying to balance between the bass and the heavy guitars and make sure you're giving it a lot of information. It's why a lot in heavy rock, the bass player and the guitar player sometimes are the same person. I've done many records where the bass player is not locking and not grooving with the guitar player, and we've taken the bass and given it to the guitar player, and they've done their their riff, and they've played the same right hand technique, obviously, and the same feel on the bass guitar to match their guitars. So there's definitely instances where this kind of tighter bass works when it's overcrossing heavy guitars, but here there is no heavy guitars. In fact, all there is little doom, chick, 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 chick. You know what I mean?
I don't wanna wait for summer to come. 'Cause I'm warming up with you in my arms. Some might say the cold is no fun, but I'm warming up. Yes, I'm warming up with you in my arms.
Yeah. So I think once the snare's got a little bit more snare top on it, because sometimes all you hear is like the snare bottom cutting, that will help. I also think, you know, we talk about this a lot, with the drums being dry at the front, or as dry as they are here,
Wake up in the morning.
I like it. I like hearing the room with and the overheads.
Wake up in the morning.
I love that sound. It's great. And I just put that EQ back on so you can hear what it'd be like with a bit more low lows on the kick. And that's great. But I think as the track gets denser, the snare's going to need a little bit of verb. So when you hear it here, it's too dry. But with the snare top up, the snare bottom down a little bit, some verb on it here. I think I used the PV on this, the T40, yeah. You can tell it doesn't have that. What I love about the T40 is it doesn't have a lot of personality. It just is a bass guitar. Where Fenders, which I love, we have a jazz bass, is great, but it tends to have a little bit too much personality. Here I just want boo, 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 boo.
I don't wanna wait for summer to come. 'Cause I'm warming up with you in my arms.
The drums don't sound dry to you here. Like I said, at the front, you know, you can hear all the room in the overheads. There's no room mic. You can hear the rooms in the overheads. It sounds great. But once the band gets playing, all of that's sucked up. So the drums start to sound super dry in the end.
Some might say the cold is no fun, but I'm warming up.
I'm not hearing the kick coming through. You know, we want to hear that low lows, and the snare just, you know, it's predominantly kind of the bottom head there. So what you should do is like keep that illusion of like hearing like the roominess, a gentle roominess on the drums. And this is something we do all the time. It's, you know, every major mixer will do this. They'll increase their verb on their drums as tracks come in. So it doesn't feel like the drums are getting drier because all of these extra instruments are coming in and sucking up all of that verb. And I think it will really help as well because it will give the snare a bit of space and it will give it perception of being louder with that extra, room tone on it that's coming in as more instruments come in. Really great. So, Bill, so we've got a lot of great, if you're not an Academy member yet, we've got a lot of great songs like this. We do cover all genres. Matt Weiss has given us 3 hip-hop tracks. So you got some hip-hop in there. We got some EDM coming more. We got, a bit of everything. God bless it. I am going to take a bathroom break, which means you're going to have the wonderful Mr. Eric Von Gonzalez in here. And Eric Von Gonzalez will tell you his joke of the day. You can also ask him questions. Ask him away. Ask him some questions.
Hello. Bathroom intermission, where I just come in and fill in time, because I guess that's better than just Warren walking away to use the restroom and you just see like this. It just looks like that for like 5 minutes. I mean, you guys could talk amongst yourself. Keep yourself company. That's always a thing. No jokes? What? But that's what I do. I come here and I tell jokes. I try. Dad jokes. Puns. Best jokes. The world of the Erics. Von Gonzalez. Oh my God. It's funny how that stuff just kind of catches on and kind of keeps going. Sean. So for those that don't haven't been around since like the beginning of the Academy, but Sean Waite would like ever since the 1173 came out. Ever since this came out on BAE, he's always been asking for when is the giveaway gonna happen. And this was like, I don't know, how long ago was it, Sean? Maybe like 4 years ago, maybe close to that. And he's been so consistent on that. And he always pulls it out. And he would always ask Warren on these like live streams, be like, when's the 1173 giveaway coming out? And Warren would be like, oh, it'll happen. And it just hasn't happened. But the man is persistent. Yes. The Academy gets together 99% because of the Eric jokes. There are no bad jokes, only dad jokes. Does that mean they're the bad jokes? Give it away now. We do have it. We do have one right here. We could pull Red Hot Chili Peppers. Give it away, give it away, give it away now. Yes. Free memberships for everyone that's here for the jokes. I can make it happen. Just don't tell Warren. Oh my God, yeah, the memes of the 1173 were awesome. Martin says that's why it's Sean Waits. He waits. I'm sure he won't know. I kind of use it as a desk, to be honest. I mean, we do use it, but I also use it as a desk. So he probably won't notice. Does my hat hold my glasses well? It not too well, but my ears do. It helps. They keep falling now. I always have to do this thing. Why did the chicken and the sprouts cross the road to get to the other sides? I have not heard that one. I like it. What? Tom, you're here for the jokes? I knew it. I knew it. I still don't believe it, though. Let's see if I have a joke. A new one. I heard this one the other day. A gentleman is a man who can play the accordion, but chooses not to. I don't know if that's a pun joke, but accordion jokes.
Recording jokes.
On shore.
What was your joke? What was your joke?
It wasn't a pun joke, but it was more of Ulf said this the other day. He said, a gentleman is a man who can play the accordion, but chooses not to.
Oh. Who? Ulf, you mean Uri? Uri said that. Oh, Uri Gelman. Uri's on here, weren't you? Can you believe that? He just attributed it to somebody else.
I'm sorry.
I remember that joke, thinking that was a good one.
Yeah.
I saw Eric making notes. He's like, I've got to come up with some better jokes. All right, Andy Tullis is up next, and let's do a giveaway. Let's do a giveaway. What can we ask now? Deary me, we found out who's Academy members. I don't know. Let's do some. All right. If you had one piece of gear that you couldn't live without, actual equipment, and trust me, we're not all about equipment, and this is physical equipment. You don't have to be clever and say my ears, your ears. I get it. Yes, I know. I can already read all the comments. If there's one piece of physical equipment, not digital, physical equipment you couldn't live without, what would it be? And for many of you, it might just be your interface because that may be all you have, or it might be your favorite mic. But if you do have any other hardware, there's no wrong answer. What is the one piece of equipment well, we've missed you too, Sean. So what's the one piece of hardware equipment, not your ears, hardware equipment that you couldn't live without? Sean says my interface. Aussie Battler says he's giving away a 73. What are you giving away? BAE dual channel 1073 with Steve Stevens mod. Oh, I like that. I think I have that. Yeah, great. Very excited. Tell us what's the one piece of equipment you can give away. My computer. Yeah, exactly. This is why there's no wrong answers. So you don't have to have expensive equipment to do this. The guitar counts as well. Absolutely. Bass, my really old guitar. All of these counts. And this is for Marvelous. Chaz says he can't live without his control service and his accordion. Did you hear about the guy that left his accordion in the car with the door unlocked? Unfortunately, when he came back, he found there was a second one in there. All right. Next up is Andy Tullis. And Andy says, hello, Warren, Eric, and my fellow plappers. What I have here is a brilliance of Warren on guitar, bass, and vocals. Oh, I wouldn't. Thank you, Andy. Thank you for saying that, but I doubt, when you get to work with people like Steven Tyler or James Blunt or I don't know, Isaac Slade from The Fray, when you work with guys like that who can really sing, you don't have any illusions of grandeur when it comes to singing, so I appreciate it. And then as bass players, Dan Rothschild lives behind me, Sean Hurley, John Button. All these guys are incredible players, Lee Sklar. Anyway, I get it. I appreciate the compliment, but just a humble person like yourself making music. That's me. Outstanding job in those three areas. Oh, lay it on with the troll. We love you dearly. I hope you did the song. I hope I did the song justice mixing it. It was fun to do. I discovered Abbey Road's Saturator on drums sounds pretty awesome. Nice. Give me your feedback, please. Thanks, Andy. And it looks like Mervyn got in there and helped. Russell got in there and helped. And excited to hear. I didn't know what song. I wrote this song about an ex-girlfriend, and we were breaking up. So now have a listen to it, and you'll hear it. Did you choose somebody yet? You can choose it after the song. So you still have a chance to say, what is the one piece of equipment you couldn't live without? And it can be an instrument, and it could be your interface. It could be a microphone, hardware, something physical that you can't live without. We can do plugins later. Here we go. This is to win a year's membership of the Academy. If you're already a member, any ProMix Academy course that you like.
Sometimes I can sail across the great divide. I'll hold you in my arms and catch the wind and ride. Then I opened up my eyes circled and we sang, crashed into the floor. If I could lift us up to where we were before, there's nothing I can say could change anything. It's written on your face. It says everything. What's it gonna take? Haven't we learned enough what it means to love? There's nothing I can say. There's nothing I could say. There's nothing I could say. There's nothing I could say could change anything. It's written on your face, and it says everything. What's it gonna take? Haven't we learned enough what it means to love? There's nothing I can say.
Oops, almost dropped the mic. Thank you ever so much, everybody. It's complimentary about my vocals. I appreciate it, but I don't know if I'm necessarily. I appreciate it, Sheila. I'm not necessarily self-conscious. I'm just fully aware that the difference between somebody that can sing in tune or be made to sing in tune and somebody that is a great performer is massive. When you get, well, I'm blessed to work with incredible singers. I just did 3 songs with Mark Martel, and I am not lying to you. We didn't tune anything. We did tune one note on the 3 songs, and then we got him to go in and re-sing it because he sang it better. I am not lying to you. Did we tune anything on his vocals?
Nothing. It was just.
It was amazing. Mark Martel, like my hairs are standing on end. No tuning anywhere. It was just do 3 to 5 takes and then produce a really good comp. I had sheets. I sat down there. I marked down stuff as it went by. If there was lines we didn't get, we went back there and did them. Then I comped it together, and then he came in and we would beat like a line or 2 here and there that we didn't feel like we had in the comp. That is a real singer. So with somebody like me, I just do 2 or 3 takes, comp it together, and then tune a couple of notes that are pretty bad. So, you know what I mean? That's the difference when you're working with really great singers. But I do appreciate the compliments, and thank you, Andy. Okay, so no, it was one note, and then we had him re-sing it. Yeah, so there's no notes. There's no auto-tune on Mark Martel's vocals. It's pretty ridiculous. That Queen cover we did is 1 take. Anyway, and there's 2 more Queen covers coming, so stay tuned. But anyway, yes, absolutely love this. I will probably completely mirror what everybody's saying. I get the lead guitar being loud when the band is playing, but I feel like at the front you just need to bring me down. It just feels a little too... Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it.
Sometimes I can say.
Oh, Carsten, I know some singers that like hearing their own voice. Trust me. I've worked with quite a few.
Sometimes I can say.
So the vocal needs to just sit a little tiny bit more forward there, you know.
Sometimes I can say. Across the grave.
It's just like, I saw the comments going down. I think it was Russell that was saying that he and Andy talked about it, and Andy wanted it to be as loud as the vocal. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I mean, you know, that's the great Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, you know, Stephen and Joe, you know, Keith and Mick, of course. There's always that interplay between the lead guitar player or the lead guitar parts, depending on who's playing them, and the singer. But in this instance, I feel like the lead is actually louder than the vocal. So I think bring up the vocal a tiny bit here and bring down the lead guitar a tiny bit.
Sometimes I can say. Across the great divide.
Now, the kick drum you've got doing kind of a doom, doom, a heartbeat. You know,
Sometimes I can say.
yes, as Andy said, yes, if it's good, it needs to be loud. I know, he told me that many times. I agree, Andy. But I think there's loud and too loud. I think it's loud. I just think it's come down. I do like the heartbeat kick. I think this is one of those songs where I think you need to adjust the kick sound for sections. I think at the front here, it's nice. It's just boom, boom. Because it's a heartfelt song, and I like your kick drum sound.
Across the great divide. I hold you in my arms and catch the wind.
I think there's a lot of verb there, Russell, in that section. Maybe, like we were talking about with the drums, maybe you mean later on the song when it gets more dense. Yeah, the verb, you're probably not hearing it, but here it's pretty loud.
I hold you in my arms and catch the wind. And
I think the verb can stay at that level pretty hot, but bring down the dry initial signal of the guitar. And yes, later on in the song, as it gets more dense, you can always push the verb up with the lead guitar. And it's interesting, near the end, some of the lead guitar is actually getting lost. So I feel like maybe, Andy, you've kind of set it and left it, like you've got the lead guitar as quite loud. I could be wrong, but it feels like, and then things get louder around it and it starts to kind of duck in. So I think bring it down in this section here, bring the vocal up slightly. Now let's keep going through the song.
rooted on the ground.
Snare's a bit lost.
You're flying out the door.
Yeah, Nash wants to know what reverb, what effect are you using on the lead guitar there? I'd like to know too. Oh, thanks, Tim. Oh, I must say, I've completely neglected to say this. I co-wrote this with one of my old friends, Buck Johnson, Burley Clyde Johnson Jr., Buck Johnson, who is the current, and has been now for about 8 years, keyboard player in Aerosmith, maybe longer. It was like 2011, 2012 when he joined. So I remember they went on tour. Maybe it was 2012, yeah, so 9 years. Yeah, he's the keyboard player and background singer for Aerosmith. Wonderful guy. And so he and I wrote this song together. Hence the great keyboards.
Flying out the door. I'm rooted on the ground. There's nothing I can say could change anything. It's written on your.
So what's interesting, I feel like Andy's choice of that kind of laid back snare is brave, because in a good way, it's not what I would have done, because nothing I could say, crack. You know, it's a ballad, but it's kind of a rock ballad. My natural inclination would have been to get more of a ring sound out of the snare, maybe even fly in a sample that's got a bit more going on, just to make it sound a bit more, you know, exciting. You know what I mean? You know, I feel like it definitely, but he's gone here for pushed back, reverbed. And I actually don't mind it, but it needs to be louder. It's too in the track.
There's nothing I can say could change anything. It's written on.
And that's where the kick needs to change. The kick needs to be more aggressive now. The organs come in, electric guitars have come up. You know, you need to go for a more aggressive kick. You can definitely go lows, a bit more snap on it, you know, and then take it from there. Carsten says, any hints on composing songs, how to get started, etc.? Where do you get your inspiration? Well, this one was a tough one. I mean, I was with this girl, and, you know, it's a long time ago. I was in my 20s. You know, everything was a bit more dramatic in my life. If any of you are in your 20s, well, it's hard to look at it when you're in your 20s. But you look back at your 20s and go, everything was just a lot more, oh, my God, drag, you know, my God, I'm shocked. That's why I always tease people when they're like, I'm shocked that you didn't do this. It's like, really? Shocked. Surprised and shocked. Yeah, I was definitely surprised and shocked a lot when I was in my 20s. And yeah, there's actually 3 songs about that because we were writing a lot. Love Me, I'm Rich is about about her, and this song, and then there's one other. Well, there's definitely 2. I feel like there's another one. Definitely 2. Anyway, but yeah, it's, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are to say that you love me? So we wrote 3 songs in that period. And it was just, you know, living with somebody and trying to have a relationship with them and fighting a lot. And that's what happens. You're in your 20s and you write songs. But I'm not saying that. I'm not saying at Carsten that you need to have a lot of, like, you know, aggravation in your life to write songs. But you can go back to those periods. You can remember those times which were highly emotively charged and write from that perspective. You know, writer writes, so just be writing. And don't be afraid to suck and write bad songs. I mean, I wrote some great songs in my 20s. I'm very proud of a lot of these songs I wrote. And there's just as many good ones then as there is now. But the difference is when I was writing then, I probably wrote twice as much to get the same amount of good ones. So don't be afraid to just write. Carole King famously said, I can't remember, I think she said it was 100 or might have been 200, but we'll go with 100. She said she wrote 100 songs before she wrote one good one. And that sounds like I like that a lot, and I trust her. I mean, Carole King's one of the greatest songwriters that ever lived. And if she said she had to write 100 good songs to write a good one, it just means, just take away from that it's okay to write bad songs and learn from it. Just write. A writer writes, and the more you write, the better you'll get. Beans for every meal. The more you eat, the better you feel. Okay. So more aggressive kick drum, louder snare. But only on this section when it comes in. You've got to alternate the snare on the bit before. It's all right. Sergo says, I'd like to record and mix a couple of songs. I feel like an upstart because I didn't record or mix any of the tracks well, all the sketches and rough works. That's fine. That's fine. I think Leanne Rimes had this song on hold like 15 years ago or 10 years ago, whenever we wrote it. And it has been cut by about 3 or 4 different people. Yeah, the drums might be, are they 1 mic or 2? Do you remember? Is this a limited amount of mics? I can't remember if this was a mic demo. So for those of you that aren't Academy members, we'll take like the songs that we do as well and, you know, we take the songs that we do and we will allow people the multi-tracks to download as well. And then we mix critique them in here. And quite often there's only so much you can do with the drums, because if we're doing a one mic demo, which we do a lot of, that's what happened. Yeah, I was going to go the more you eat, the more you... I was about to say that, but I stopped.
Could change anything. It's written on your face. It says everything.
I think I wrote 90% of the lyrics on this one because I was going through something personal. But yeah, Lennon and McCartney used to write full songs. One of them would bring it in, and then the other person would either add the bridge or change it or something. There's lots of stories. You can go to the Beatles songs book and see the splits. And sometimes it was, early on, it was like a pure co-write. But most of the time, I get a feeling it's like 75% more one person than the other. But that's the difference. Sometimes that 25% of tweaking some lyrics, changing some chords, adjusting a melody is what takes it over the line.
Could change anything. It's written on your face. It says everything. What's it gonna take?
Dan B says Taco Bell time. Yeah, the more you eat, the more you fuck.
Learn to love what it means to love. There's nothing I can say.
Yep, so I don't mind your laid-back snare, like I was saying with the verb, but it has to come up. The snare has to come up in the pre-choruses. The kick needs to be more aggressive now the band come in. And I got to be honest, I want the vocal to come up all over, and I want that lead guitar to be automated down a little bit so it isn't louder than the vocal. I don't mind it as loud, but in that first verse it's louder. Great work. Thank you, Andy. If you are already in the Academy, Eric, I presume, has already posted where this song is? Which season it's in? Okay. Scott Peets. This is very well recorded. Thank you. Well, actually, it might not be me who recorded it. Oh, yeah, it is me. It's the Treat Me Right. This is a song I wrote with a girl called Lauren Taylor, who was on a Disney TV show called... what was it called? It was quite a big TV show. Best Friends Whenever. Best Friends Whenever. And the girl she co-starred with was the girl in the Babysitter movie with Seth Rogen? Yeah. Remember the little girl that's like kind of makes his life absolute turmoil? Seth Rogen's, that's the girl that's the co-star with Lauren. It was the two of them were on that TV show. So she's incredibly talented. What in Hollywood they call a triple threat. She can sing, she can dance, and she can act. And she's really, really great person, wonderful family. This is very well recorded, thank you. The arrangement production give it a nice space and air. It has a Prince feel to it, good. I'm not a remix, so I bet Chris Ibbotson could come up with something fun for this song if he hasn't already. Have you done this one, Chris? Have you mixed this song, remixed it? I have to check the library uploads. Have you done it? That would be amazing. After my original mix, Mark Guffland enlightened me to the additional horn tracks played by Michael Garding. So I added them and edited in the sax solo. Wonderful. The horn bed under the solo was made by copying and pasting the horn tracks from the other part of the song to give the solo section more of a brass feel. I also copied the loop and added it to make somewhat of a breakdown. Now, for those of you who don't know, Michael Garding is one of the many, many hundreds of incredibly talented people in here. We're just talking about Chris Ibbotson, who's an insane remixer and just a great producer, film and TV composer, stupidly talented member. Peter Samuelson comes up all the time. He seems to be a mind reader. As I'm about to express what I think needs to be EQ'd or changed, he says the same thing. That's just scraping the surface. And of course, Michael is an incredible sax player. We have incredible guitar players in here. Darren Ross, who's not here at the moment, is one heck of a shredder and a great member. The list goes on and on and on. You've got great people, men, women, you name it. Really talented people in here. So I'm excited to hear this. The horn bed under the solo is made by copy and pasting. Also copied the loop and added somewhat of a breakdown. All right, Scott, let's check it out. I don't know if I've mixed critiqued this one with horns on it yet. Maybe I have and I've forgotten. I'm sorry. Excited to hear. Here we go.
Other girls may take your shit, I ain't gonna deal with it. They might let you call the
That's pretty amazing. I mean, whew. Yeah, the multi tracks are in season 6. Eric just put up there. If you haven't mixed this one already, and has that got Michael's incredible sax playing in there? It does. Is Michael here? Where is he? Michael, are you here? Take a bow. Scott Peets and Michael Garding. What a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful combination. Wow. All right, I only have a couple of minor things to say. Just go back through the vocal, listen at low volumes, and see if there's some S's you can pull down. There's a couple of just a couple, not many, just a couple. Go back and listen down. Do that. Number one. The only other thing really that kind of stood out to me is like after that incredible sax solo. Let's have a listen. Let's go back here. It's just an excuse to listen to the sax solo, but there is actually a comment. Have a listen. Go back. So all I'm doing is thinking to myself, first of all, it was a good excuse to listen to the sax solo because it's freaking awesome and Michael rocks and Scott, great mix. But that section there, maybe the drums could have dropped out entirely and it just went to the da-da-da-da-da-da, because there's not as much of a transition, like a dramatic transition as I would like going into the chorus. So... I mean, what you could do crudely here is I could come in, I could grab an EQ and just wipe out some of the low end maybe. So maybe do something like this, got to about 200. Maybe even more. Maybe we'll go up to like, I think I would just be muting the bass and the and the drums in there, but just for snitch and sniggles. But you get the idea. I mean, it's just for even more. Let's go absolutely nuts and do 1K and below. But yeah, just something that sets up that last chorus. That's all I would really change. I would just get in there and do that. A little bit of de-essing on the vocal. You know, with the kick and the snare being so on, because it's just programmed drums, obviously, dum, it's so dumb. Maybe the quietest ever, but little tiny delay on it, like on it, but really, really super quiet. That is a trick that Mark Ender does with these kinds of drums. At least he did years ago when I sat with him in a session. Just like a little kind of, like a dragging out of time delay. Short, but really, really super quiet on programmed elements. Because then it adds a little bit of random to it rather than just kind of, you know, well. That play spring reverb. It's the spring on the on the mic stand. Spring reverb. Okay, so I can be all dramatic. Anyway, so cut a long story short. Yeah. It would almost be inaudible, but I think what it would do is just get rid of some of the kind of static kick, snare. And it's nothing to do with your mix. It's just because the drums are programmed. I didn't use a real drum kit on that. I just played it in, you know, boom, boom, tick, boom, tick. And then I would make some drama out of that section there. You can almost go. I got a cymbal going in there, but you could always do the old, verify trick. What's it under? Harmonic, maybe. Huh? Do we not have verify anywhere? Ooh, modulation, maybe. What happened to verify? Pitch shift under there. Yay! There it is. So do the slow down, and you can do this. It could even do this. I love these kinds of fun things. You know, there's all kinds of fun things. All of those things will add to the drama and make the sax solo even more different from the rest of the song. So when the last section comes in, it really goes up. Mic Stand Sounds Volume 1, now available in the stores. Use PLAP25 for the discount. Yeah, you know. Ooh, I like that. I like that. So kept the attack and then the slowdown. Here we go. That's the one. That's what I would use. So got the ka from the attack, but then the do from afterwards. If Chris Ibbotson was doing this, I'm sure there'd be tons of those kind of little moments. All right, fantastic, Scott. Fantastic, Michael. You guys rock. Let's do another giveaway. Mark is up next. I'm going to read this out. It says, "Take My Lonely." Hello, dear Academy. Here's my first Academy song by Jeremiah Jones, mixed by Mark Daniel Nelson. It's my first song with so many tracks. I only use Logic plugins for the vocals and use sibilants of waves. The song is really fun, and I'm really looking forward to your feedback. Mix is calibrated at -6 dB. Warm greetings, Mark. Excellent. And looks like Paul got in there and helped out, and so did Russell. Wonderful. Love you guys getting in there and helping each other out. Okay. So what do we want to know? We've done hardware. Oh, yeah, software. If there's one piece of software that you couldn't live without, and it can be your DAW, you can just say FL Studio. You could say Ableton. You could say Pro Tools. You could say Reaper. You could say Cubase. You could say Nuendo, Digital Performer. Or you could say and then insert plugin. You know, my Valhalla, my Little Plate, whatever it might be. What's the one piece of software? Very wide, that you could not live without. And if you don't know of one piece of software that you couldn't live without, you can say, I don't know, or I record on tape. So everybody can answer. If you don't use software and you record on tape, you can say, I record on tape. And Eric will, at random, pick somebody. They will get a free year's membership to the Academy. If you're already a member, you'll get an extension on it. And if you're already a lifetime member, which we have many, then you'll get any ProMix Academy course that you like. All right, now we're going to listen to Mark's version of Take My Lonely.
You can leave me breathless or keep me guessing. I'm either laughing or lost in your eyes. Sometimes I'm stranded out on your ocean. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes we fight. I had to do it all over you. I would choose you every time I would. Try to make you feel all my love, my one and only. You take my lonely. You take my lonely. I'm so cynical, you're so glass-eyed. time. I wanna try to make you feel all my love. My one and only. If I could do it all over you, I would choose you every time. I wanna try to make you feel all my love. My one and only. You take my lonely. You take my lonely. My one and only. You take my lonely.
Wow, this is a pretty phenomenal mix. I mean, this is definitely a remix for those of you that don't yet know these multi-tracks. Now, these were available online everywhere, weren't they? This wasn't just yeah, so everywhere. So you can hear this. You can hear this and download this anywhere. Why don't you put the link up for those people that aren't members and they still want the multi-tracks? Can you find it for them? Pretty please, and put that up. So I'm a huge fan of this song. I'm also a huge fan of this mix. Great to see people getting in there and helping. What is beautiful about this, frankly, is the fact that, that for a fact that is, sorry, easy for me to say, really, isn't it? Easy for me to say. What I love about this is it's taken a very beautiful, I wouldn't call it roots, or Americana, but a little bit more, organic sounding. How about that? And made it a little bit more modern and radio. I mean, there's a lot of a more aggressive drum sound. I think the only thing I could point out is a little bit of a resonance on the bass, a bit of a that needs to come out. You could just get in there with the dynamic EQ and just control that excessive kind of boom. But I do really like this. This constitutes a remix for me. This is like getting there and thinking of this more as a modern pop. It starts off very kind of could be Coldplay, but then again, modern Coldplay is doing this. This is a really great remix mix.
Out on your ocean, sometimes it's easy, sometimes we fight. I had to do it all over you. I would choose you every time. I wanna try to make you feel all my love, my one and only. You take my lonely. You take my lonely. I'm so cynical, you're so placid. You pick me up when I'm feeling low down. We can turn a bad day into a party.
So what's happening is there's quite a decent amount of high end going on, but why it's being smothered is some of the low mids. So it sounds like, there's a lot of like high mid information, and you hear it going into the reverb and stuff like that, and it sounds like it's a bit cluttered. I don't disagree with that, but I think the first thing, it's going back to the global thing. What do we have to identify first? And there's just a lot of low mid build up, a lot of thickness that could just be trimmed a little bit more.
When I'm feeling low down, we can turn a bad day into a party. How you still love me is a miracle. And if I had to do it all over you, I would choose you every time. I wanna try to make you feel all my love, my one and only. You take my lonely.
I think that resonance on that bass means that a lot of like the snare aggression, a lot of the do kind of information is a little bit cluttered, is a little bit much, is feeding into reverbs, but this kind of kind of low end that's going on. I'm exaggerating because it's not terrible, but it's clouding how I'm hearing it. I feel like it's kind of coming from an 80s skinny out high end, but which, when everything was like so pristine and perfect and EQ'd and SSL'd and placed in a place, where it stayed, and everything had its own reverb and its own kind of perfect thing. I don't mind some of that when it's done really tastefully. I think you're just on the edge here, Mark, of like getting in there and doing, you know, some of that detail. I would probably, first of all, control the bass. Get in there and maybe skinny down a couple of things that are just fighting with each other in the low mids. And then start looking at like, okay, now there's a lot more space going on. Maybe there's a little bit too much and the reverbs are kind of like being pushed a little bit too hard and there's a little bit too much high-end sparkle on everything. It feels like it needs to get skinnier on the low mids and then maybe even skinnier in some places on the highs and then open up some sources. It's kind of a little contradictory because I feel like I'm itching to open this up and see what's being boosted on the high end that's interfering in the reverb to maybe tame, see what's a bit excessive in the low end and low mids and tame that. But then maybe some of those high boosted things need to open up and actually have some more low lows to it. So I think it's a readjustment of the focus. I wish I could open up these tracks to explain, but overall, I love the direction. I really do. Yeah, because with the bass being so pervasive, I'm not hearing kind of the thump. I like hearing 150, 200 on a snare. I like it. I like a bit of body when that snare's hitting me, you know. And at the moment, all I hear is boo, 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 boo. Victor Lawyer, what did Victor say?
I did not put that down.
Oh, come on.
Was the winner.
He won, but what did you say, Victor?
How you still love me is a miracle.
It's a tough one because there's a nice transition coming into the first chorus, coming into the second verse, but then getting into the second chorus, it's muddled, you know? Ken says, Victor Lawyer, you won an all-expenses-paid swim across the Atlantic. Now, I think that's Eric. Yes, this track is available to non-members. Eric, did you put it up yet?
I did, but let me put it again.
He did, but he'll put it again. Yeah, I think that section, this is what I really firmly feel. If I had the multi-tracks open and I would look at this section that we've got here, you clean up what's going on there. You find the stuff that's too boomy, too pretty in the high end, too excessive in the high end, and figure out what to make some sounds a bit fatter, like the snare, for instance, a bit more body, but then figure out why there's so much of a battle going on the low mids there. You clean that up, I think you'll clean the whole song up, because it's a great illustration of why there's no impact going into that second chorus. It's like, I want that drum fill to be super dramatic. Another thing you can do, frankly, Mark, is just mute some stuff. Mute some stuff and let that crazy drum fill not be on its own, but be more on its own. So, you know, maybe mute the bass there. Because the bass is fighting like crazy in this section. I don't know. It's very difficult to do things on two tracks that have to be done on mixes. But I'm gonna just do some silliness, pulling out some low mids, pulling out some low lows. But you can see what it did. When I took out the low lows and the low mids, because the low lows need to come out of the bass, the low mids need to come out of the whole mix in there. Even though this is only the two track and this is not the solution, it needs to be done on the mix. but you see the way the percussive elements now start to shine with the low mids being cut and the excessive low lows.
into a party. How you still love me is a miracle.
I mean, we could probably go up to here. And then maybe even do this.
Into a party. How you still love me is a miracle.
So, yeah. It's not the solution to do it on the 2-track, but it illustrates what I'm talking about. It's the crowd in the low mids, the excessive kind of low end on the bass, really particularly in there. And then, you know, I want to hear that. I want to hear those drums be explosive. You could pull out the bass on that last fill. Just give me something that gives us an opportunity to be like, wow, what was that? You know, it's some detail work, but I think it could be absolutely fantastic. And then you just got to look at, you know, once you clean up the low lows and the low mids across the track and you decide where you need more on instruments like the snare and stuff, you're going to find that any issues that you're hearing with the reverb are going to be really easy to see. And also, don't be afraid to EQ your signal going into a reverb, because sometimes you might want some reverb on an instrument, but you don't necessarily want it to exaggerate the high frequency stuff. There's 3 different ways of dealing with it. You could take a send and EQ the sound going to the send. I'm in favor of that, because it's not like, because I like the EQ before it, because I don't want to like control it so it sounds EQ'd, but I want to control the response. So narrowing the sound going into a reverb can be so much nicer, especially if it's a bright reverb. It still has the brightness, but it's not excessive. I find that then even just putting an EQ before the reverb plugin or going to pre on the EQ before the EQ is triggered can also work really well. Not a huge fan of putting the EQ afterwards. I find it's a little bit of a Band-Aid on a gaping wound, and it just starts to sound ugly. Well, not even a Band-Aid, that's the wrong way of describing it. It just sounds EQ'd and ugly, and suddenly the reverb is like narrowed. Yeah. I would essentially, I would essentially get to that once you've cleaned up the low mids and the low end. You're going to find that you can make better decisions on the reverbs. Excellent. That was a lot of fun. Great remix. Really good. And I think taking it to that kind of level, it's a lot more pop and modern now with this direction, you know. Okay, next up is Dimitri. We'll do one more giveaway in a couple of mixes' time. Dimitri or Mitre says, this time I'm glad to bring your attention to my remix, the Close song Blackout. It's a wonderful song which I participated in the Clo Blackout remix competition 2020. After listening to the original, I immediately heard I wanted to make the remix and started arranging. I wanted to give the song a little pepper and immerse it in the dance atmosphere. The song is mixed completely in the box. I chose Vengeance Avenger VSTI as the main instrument. Also added my own light backing vocals, recorded through the Harmonizer TC Helicon VoiceWorks Plus plugins. As always, I hope you like it. I'll be very glad to hear your opinion about my mixing nuances and constructive review. Excellent. Let's check it out. Here we go.
Time to put the pen to the paper, saying that I won't see you later. Telling you I don't need no favor, don't need no savior, I can save myself. Took me on a dangerous adventure, did your best to make me surrender. Telling you I just need a center, you're no contender, I can save myself. I'll move on, but I won't forget why you did the things that you said. How you tried to mess with my head, fuck with my head, get out of my head. Like out, look what you made me. Slow down, you misunderstood. Rewind, don't call me your baby. I ain't the one that was up to no good. And like out, look what you made me. Back down, I did. fool to believe you. Now I'm just so happy to leave you. Now it's like I finally see you. Boy, you're so see-through. You should save yourself. I'll move on, but I won't forget why you did the things that you said. How you tried to mess with my head. Fuck with my head, get out of my head. Like out, look what you made me. Slow down, you misunderstood. Rewind, don't call me your baby. I ain't the one that was up to no good. And black out, and look what you made me. Back down, I did what I could. This time, don't call me your baby. I ain't the one that was up to no good. I ain't the one, no. Black out and look what you made me. Slow down, you misunderstood. Rewind, don't call me your baby. I ain't the one that was up to no good. Black out and look what you made me. Slow down, you misunderstood. Rewind, don't call me your baby. I ain't the one that was up to no good. I ain't the one, no.
Wow, I mean, it's a great remix. I really, really like it. I feel like I remember hearing it, although we're going back when I 3 remix competitions ago, and it was a lot of there was a lot of great mixes. But it does ring a bell. I absolutely love it. You know, and if you haven't already downloaded these multi-tracks and you're an Academy member or outside of it, please download them. You can still get them from the Rate My Mix site, I think, even regardless. Let's have a listen again on this section here. I really love the transition at the beginning here.
Time to put the pen to the paper, saying that I won't see you later, telling you I don't need no favor, don't need no savior, I can save myself. Took me on a dangerous adventure, did your best to make me surrender, telling you I just need a center, you're no contender, I can save myself. I'll move on, but I won't forget why you did the things that you said, how you tried to mess with my head, fuck with my head, get out of my head. Black out, look what you made me. Slow down, you misunderstood. Rewind, don't call me your baby. I ain't the one that was.
We'll have another remix competition soon, Vincenzo. I really like it. As F says, that's one of those things. I feel like there could be a little bit more in general across the mix, because the elements are fantastic. The remix ideas are wonderful. You've done an amazing job. But some volume rides, like coming... first of all, I love the artificial harmony here. The vocoder effect is fantastic.
Time to put the pen.
So there, like the jant piano, like F is pointing out, there could be some sort of highlighted elements that could have got...
Time to put the pen to the paper, saying that I won't see you later.
I do love that groove. Do. It's great.
Pen to the paper, saying that I won't see you later, telling you I don't need no favor, don't need
Great groove.
no. I'll move on, but I won't forget.
Piano there, come up. You know, piano's fine being down in those sections there. It could always be muted in that previous section. But here, big scene change.
I'll move on, but I won't forget why you did the things that you said, how you tried to mess with my head.
Like, I know it's there, and I do love the I love those harmonies coming in those backgrounds. But I wish the piano was that was still pushing through there.
I'll move on, but I won't forget why you did the things that you said, how you tried to mess with my head, fuck with my head, get out of my head, black out.
I recorded the vocals. I also wrote the song with Liana and Chloe. So I wrote the song, and Obviously, there's only some of my parts I played, but I played a lot of the parts, but not on this one. And yes, we recorded the vocal here.
How you trying to mess with my,
It's with a Lewitt LCT 940.
how you trying to mess with my head? Fuck with my head, get out of my head. Like out, look what you made me. Slow down, you misunderstood. Rewind, don't call me your baby. I ain't the one that was.
So much cool stuff going on. There's like a wow, wow, wow kind of idea going on here that my ear's gravitating towards. I think don't be afraid to maybe just skinny down the groove 1%, just a little bit, so it's just a little less, a little bit more like do, 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 do. Just skinny it down ever so slightly. And then these fun kind of ear candy things you've got going in, make them move, make them do some stuff. Like, wow, wow, wow. Have some fun with it. And like as F was saying, I think mutes and volume rides and automation. You've got so many great ideas in here. The only thing is like there's too many times when they're all playing together. I think automating some stuff would be amazing with panning, with volume. You know, it's good. The groove is great. The new feel that you've got going in the chorus is superb. You've got amazing ideas. I think it's a mute and automate. Mute and automate, and just really make these incredible ideas that you've added like be really, really obvious. You know, from a judging perspective, that's what I'd be thinking. I'd be thinking, oh, I love this. It just needs more work on the mix. You know, when you're judging mix competitions, you really do want to tell people how to win. You want to go, hey, do this, it'll make it better, do that. But that's not how it works in a mixing competition. You have to wait till afterwards, you know. But it's your mix would have been, I think it probably made top 50 after I asked Chloe. It's definitely one of the definitely top 100. But what would have not made it win-win would have been just those kinds of things, just like not exploring enough of like automation and muting and panning and stuff like that would have just been like, wow, you know. And again, slightly skinnying down the main groove in the choruses so that do, 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 is less kind of boom, 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 boom. I like the fatness of it. It could be one of two things. You could skinny down the low end, or what you could do is ever so slightly make it 5% more staccato. So it's less bob, 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 more bob, 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 bob. That might help as well. You know, often I'll run a gate on it, or I'll automate. Or if I'm not automating, I'll just turn it down between hits. Anything just to kind of like help that movement a little bit more. But let's be honest, that's absolutely superb. And if you are generous enough, I'd love, if you can, Dimitri, to send Eric the multitrack so we could put it up in the academy. We have a lot of user-generated multitracks, as I'm sure you all know. It'd be amazing to have these available for other people to remix. Would be incredible. All right, Jay Wagner is up next, and we'll do another giveaway. And Jay says, oh, we just posted it. Looks like Russell got in with tons of comments. Thank you, Russell. And Jay responded. Okay. I'm excited to see. Very excited indeed. Here we go.
Got me a woman who treats me right. Goes to work in the morning, gives me loving at night. I've got me a bunny, she's sweeter than honey. She don't want no silver, she don't take my money. She don't take my money. She gives me good loving, good loving. She give me good loving, good loving. My baby don't mind if I stay out late. She's sweet and she's kind, she puts food on my plate. I know that she loves me the way that she does me. Sweet little angel, she kisses and she hugged me. She kissed and she hugged me. She gives me good loving, good loving. She gives me good loving, good loving. She gives me good. I've got me a woman who treats me right, gives me all of her loving both daily and night. I've got me a bunny, she's sweeter than honey. She don't want no silver, she don't take my money. She don't take my money. She don't take my money.
Fantastic. Okay, so I think the main things here are obviously the snare. It's not that it's over compressed. It's just compressed in a way. Here's always an interesting one. This is a discussion I've had 100 times over the years. Is people will use the phrase over compressed. What they mean is like badly or compressed in a way they don't like. Because this might not have a huge amount of compression, but what it will have is a slow enough attack time that pap, 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 because it's an interesting one because you want to speed up your attack time, but it's actually slow enough to let the transient come through. With modern digital compressors, you can look ahead. You can do whatever you want. You can control those dynamics entirely. So what we've got here is that little bit of snipping of a attack coming through. Very similar to discussion to what we had on the first song. For those of you who are starting now, go back to the beginning. We've been going over 2 hours. User. Oh, by the way, please hit the like button. I really appreciate it. Please hit that like button. I'd appreciate it. It lets people, lets YouTube, and it lets YouTube know that we're online and doing stuff. Anyway, yeah, the initial attack is okay. I don't mind it, but it is what defines the song. Because it's interesting at the end. It's almost works here. Although it's having a hard time with the release and attack times when the fills go faster, recovering quick enough on the release to allow the attack to come back on again to get the next it's okay when it's boom, da, da, ba, da, dum, da, da, ba. It can handle that, but as soon as there's it isn't working anymore. So you're gonna have to reduce the release time on that for that kind of stuff for the fast fills. But honestly, it is a sort of defining part of the song. I think it just needs to be tamed again we could talk about if you want to do it on the individual snare bus. On the previous mix where I was talking about the transients being dominant, I was talking about creating a separate parallel drum bus for the full drum kit and then summing the natural drum bus, the parallel one, to a separate one and using a limiter to shave across kind of the extra attack. On this instance, you could do that same principle, but on the snare. So you could come in and do a more parallel compressed snare, then feed those two buses to one with something that just clips the top of the transient. And then you'll get, the snare won't have to be so attacky to be heard. Sam is calling me. Would you call him back?
I'm talking to him.
Say again?
I'm talking to him now.
Okay, well, he's still calling me. If you're talking... so I'm gonna have to decline. So the so what I was saying, I just think it's that. It's kind of a combo platter. I don't mind the little SSL spanky pap 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 idea, although I will say the compressor or whatever that you're using is killing the high end of the snare, so it tends to be just pap pap pap. It doesn't have any bite to it. And the other thing is, if you can get the bite back in, it also won't have to be so loud, because instead of being that mid-rangey kind of snap, you'll hear some top end, which means that the snare will sit more forward. As we all know, our ears are most sensitive around about 3 to 5K, 2 to 5. But yeah, the 3 to 5K area is very, very typical to be predominant in a mix, because that's where all the information that your ears hear first. We're talking about speakers, like I talked about the Adams recently. One of the things that's pleasing about them is the upfrontness of the high mids, which is not that prevalent in a lot of modern speakers, because everybody's moving towards this idea that a good speaker should be absolutely perfectly flat, and the problem is that most of us are grown up mixing on NS10s and Genel X, the old Genel X and stuff, which have a more pronounced, more forward mid-range, and it's exciting to mix on. So with that in mind, let's get that excitement back in the snare, not just from one element, because the moment what's making the snare be audible is that attack time. Once you got rid of that attack time, the snare's not in the mix, because you just hear pep, 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 pep. So that's okay to be an element of the snare, but it shouldn't be the only predominant thing on the snare. So I think balance that with with something that maybe has a parallel compression on it that gives you body. And then overall, if you bust those two elements together, you can control the initial transient with a limiter, but you could also boost the high end. You could just make it brighter and put a bit more body in it. And I think that would really, really help. You get more of a, more kind of here's the snare. This is great. You know what I mean? And then the other thing is just probably super obvious. I wasn't reading all the comments, but yeah, the kick. I don't hear it 90% of the time. I'm hearing the pat, pat, pat of the snare coming through, but I'm not hearing the kick. How are the AR-18s? Pretty fantastic. They are down at the moment. And I just got... where's the power amp?
It's this guy right here, right behind your computer.
Wow. Very nice. Is that... I thought it was going to be the gold one.
I thought so too, but that's what they brought.
Oh, okay. Well, it's nice. Can I see it? Is it really heavy?
Yeah.
I just got a new power amp.
It's got some weight to it.
Built by Aspen, the dearly departed genius Aspen Pittman. Wow, look at that. Jules 75S, dual channel stereo reference vacuum tube amplifier. So I'm actually going to put this on my stereo. So does it weigh a lot? Yeah. 2 huge transformers, lots of nice tubes.
Putting my arms to work right now.
It's basically a Macintosh reverse engineered and souped up, because Aspen would do that. So it's like a Macintosh tube. So I'm going to take that home, and it's going to drive my. I'm getting a new turntable, and I've got some little golds I'm going to put on it, some Tannoy little golds, and that's going to be my home hi-fi. Dennis Vandermeer says, the guy at the furniture store told me the sofa would seat 5 people without any problems. Then it occurred to me, I don't think I know 5 people without any problems. Budum ching. That was good. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. So we've got to work on that kick, Jay, just to get it to be just a little bit more prevalent. Yes, please hit the like button. I'd appreciate it. How long do you guys that submit mixes spend on doing a mix? I think everybody has their own thing. Some people do it like an hour or two over a couple of weeks. Sometimes people work for 6 hours straight. Some people do a bit of everything. Whatever works for you. Thanks, Nash. Have a good night. We don't know no stinking badges says, I come for the comedy. Good. It gets super crowded there, but I kind of like it. I don't have a problem with sometimes in a good rock and roll track that all the guitars fighting with each other a bit. I just want to hear the low-lows on the kick and the attack on the kick. It's interesting because the attack on the kick is here. I'm not going to repeat that last comment. It will hurt Eric's feelings. It does have a witchy woman. Ooh, witchy woman. I mean, this whole song is like, back is black, back in black. I want my baby back. It's got that. You know, this was definitely deliberately sort of the late 60s heavy rock as opposed to like 70s. It's just on that sort of border where there's still a 60s groove about it. But yeah, a big fan of this song. Who won the prizes? Well, lots of people. So we're going to do a new one. So Jay, work on that kick and that snare. Give us more low-lows on the kick, a little bit more bite on the kick as well. Evenly. There's times that I hear it, but it feels like it's a little bit too high. I'd make it more around about 2.5K. Get some low-lows. Control that snare so it's not only the pap that you hear. It needs more high end. It needs more bite. It needs more body. I want to hear like a 150, 200 up into a 7K kind of boost. And that, but I do like that pappiness, that spankiness from an SSL, but balance it with the body of the snare. And then it won't have to be so loud to be heard. All right. Let's do one more giveaway in a second. We'll do it on the last track. Casey Dangle says, I posted this before the website issues and guess it got lost. Yes, we did have a week when we did a massive changeover. So basically the website turned into one of the most massive websites in the history of websites. And it basically just went, we hit the maximum allowed on that server. So we transferred it over a week to its own individual, much bigger, on its own server. And now, of course, the site runs super, super fast. But there was a period during that changeover with anybody posted, it would have got lost. And that's what Casey is saying. In the instruments section, I used Echo Boy on a Bissonette setting to showcase the bass line. I enjoyed this song and tried to accentuate the bass line, kick into play to give it energy I liked. Feedback is always appreciated. So we'll listen to this and then we'll do the last giveaway. Here we go.
To stand. Hey, hey, yeah. Hey, 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 oh, 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 oh. Hey, 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 oh. Time to think for myself, I'm moving on. I'm bigger and stronger now that it's all gone. Step aside, watch out for this train. Look at bricks in the hood, but we're sure to make it rain. Flipping, clipping, different new sounds. As if we ain't got a limit, cause we don't like those limits. Never drop it, don't stop it, cause the beat don't keep knocking, cause I'm raw bandit. Dub funked it, and then it became a hit, which then led me to the Ritz. Doesn't take a genius just to know when to quit. It got hard, so you did quit when you could quit. Now you're looking at us, saying all you ever tried to do was bring me down. turned around and then you shot me in the back. Said, ooh, if I could have told you that I'm not afraid of anything you do, 'cause I'm bulletproof, bulletproof. Yeah, yeah. Hey, 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 hey. Oh, 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 oh. Hey, 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 hey. Go check your facts, I'm sick of the way you act. Smack back, same pack with the cards stacked against you. Everybody's looking for those answers that you seem to provide. But I've seen your side and I've heard all your lies, and I don't mind seeing through these new eyes. The bulletproof state of mind is where I choose to reside. Saying all you ever tried to do was bring me down, so I turned around and then you shot me in the back. Say, ooh, if I could have told you that I'm not afraid of anything you do, 'cause I'm bulletproof, baby. I said all you ever tried to do was bring me down, so I turned around and then you shot me in the back. Said, ooh, if I could have told you that I'm not afraid of anything you do, 'cause I'm bulletproof, bulletproof. Show what you got for the people, my brother. Go and check your facts, I'm sick of the way you act. Smack back, same pack with the cards stacked against you. Everybody's looking for those answers, and you seem to provide them. But I've seen your side and I've heard all your lies, and I don't mind seeing it through these new eyes. The bulletproof state of mind is where I choose to reside. Yeah, saying all you ever tried to do was bring me down, so I turned around and then you shot me in the back. Said, ooh, if I could have told you that I'm not afraid of anything you do, 'cause I'm bulletproof, baby. Well, I'm so bulletproof, bulletproof. And that's how it's done.
If I've told you once, I've told you 100 times, Eric. You know, you got to stop doing your part-time business stuff in the middle of this. Webcams, chat, hot girls and boys video chat. That's Eric's side business. He was obviously running it, you know, his hot girls and boys video chat. I like it. Of all the ones I've ever seen pop up in chats and stuff, that's one of the most innocuous. Normally it's like XXX and lots of expletives, but that one's called Webcams Chat, Hot Girls and Boys Video Chat. How polite. How politely bad. Anyway, yeah, Eric, come on. The side hustle. You gotta like keep that down on the down low. All right, Casey, it's pretty wonderful. I have to agree. Overheads, it's interesting because the overheads are bright. And when you hear the cymbal section, when it comes down, you hear them. But the overall rest of the drum kit's quite dull. I mean, the snare needs a little bit more air on it. You know, I'd love to hear some 7K and above, a little bit of boost there. The kick drum, pull out some more 350, give me a little bit more 60 hertz on the kick. Maybe go to about a 2.5 and give me a little bit of bite on that, so a bit of snap. Like I said, the overheads kind of feel okay. I wouldn't want to brighten them any more, but just see how it feels to get those two elements of the drums. There's one tom fill I think I heard where I want to pull out a bit more 350. But yeah, and Peter's summing it up. The balance is good, but the whole mix lacks some air and space. Yeah, but I think it's mainly the drums that would do that. Then if we imagine the drums are done, let's just grab, an EQ. And let's go, here you go. I should have brought a 4-band in. This is going to be difficult because on this generic EQ moves I'm going to make, I'm probably going to pull out a bit of extra low mid out of areas that don't other instruments. But I'm going to pull out a little bit of 350. And I'm going to go to 60 and be fairly aggressive. So what's happening is I'm boosting to 60, but the bass is turning up. So you're going to high pass your bass guitar a little bit more aggressively and get that 60 to 40, 35 hertz area more in the kick drum. See how the cymbals, once I boost that 8.5 to 12K kind of area here, how the cymbals just are bright? That's what I mean. It's more about the rest of the drums. Who answers the questions? Typing in. Sometimes I do, and sometimes Eric. Hi, John. Yeah, with that brightness, like I said, the overheads are becoming too bright, but the snare drum's too dull. So you don't need to do your overall kit, but you definitely need to bring out some 350 out of the kick drum, out of the toms, brighten up the snare from 7, 8, 9, 10. Just give me some air up there. Add a bit of 150, 200 is never going to hurt. A little bit of 60. Boost the 60 on the kick. You can go between 50 and 60. Make sure the 40 to 35 naturally comes up alongside it, but you don't want to bring up too much 80 to 100. You'll smother the bass. The bass, just gently high pass out of the way. It's not that you're trying to take out the 60 and the 50. You're just trying to tame it so it doesn't smother the kick drum. Let's go to one section.
That's where I choose to reside, yeah. Saying all you ever tried to do was bring me down. So I turned around and then you shot me in the back. Said, ooh, if I could have told you that I'm not afraid of anything you do, 'cause I'm bulletproof, baby. Well, I'm so bulletproof, bulletproof.
It's nice. Yeah, you hear the kick there. Yeah, it's definitely centered more about 80 to 100. I want a bit more 40, 50, 60, center it at 60, pull out the 80 to 100, and a bit more attack on it, a bit more brightness on the snare. Yeah, it's a pretty good mix, don't get me wrong. I mean, stuff we did here just to kind of exaggerate the areas we want to hear less of is definitely helping, but remember, we can't put a band-aid on a gaping wound. These things have to be addressed inside of the mix, not on the master bus. Otherwise, we're just mastering, and that's fine. A mastering engineer will do all the things we're talking about, but they would do a much better job. The reason why I say that is because like half of the biggest mastering engineers in the world are women, so definitely shouldn't be saying he. They would definitely, all the great master engineers would do all the things we're talking about, but give them a more balanced mix, and then they can do even cleverer stuff. We don't want to fix this at the master bus level or mix bus level. We want to fix this in the mix. All right. Last but no means least. Isn't this the second week you put Clarice at the end? It is.
Is it?
Yeah, I think he did this to you last time, Chris. He wants to go out with a bang. All right. First of all, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. We're going to do another competition where we're going to give away a year's membership. If you already have a year's membership or you're a Lifetime Academy member, you can choose any course you like from ProMix Academy. So this is last but no means least, Chris Ibbotson. What was the question I want to ask? We did favorite piece of hardware. Are you an Academy member? Favorite piece of software. Last one. What should we do? Samuel's here. Sam should come up with it. I'm just going to do something. Who's your favorite artist? Could be any genre, of course. Who's your favorite artist? I want to know. Is it a band? Is it a solo artist? Is it a duo? Is it metal? Is it EDM? Is it hip hop? Is it rock? Is it country? What is it? Jungle? Skrillex? Whoever it might be. Who is your favorite artist? Anything. Just tell us your favorite artist. Okay, and Eric will pick at random. I will let you know he's a Metallica fan, but that doesn't mean he's going to pick Metallica. But he might. Who is your favorite artist? Okay, Chris Ibbotson is up last. But last but definitely no means least. And tell us who your favorite artist is, and you will get picked at random by the Senor Eric Von Gonzalez. Please hit the like button and share. I always appreciate when you do that. It helps YouTube know that you're here. And Chris says, wanted to give a relaxing lounge vibe to this cool, funky number. So I set up a couple of suitable room reverbs and went for a dry mix. Really wanted some horns on this, so I gave Michael Garding a shout. Michael is featuring heavily today. I want to see who's Michael's favorite artist. And put some fab saxes on this with the help of a trumpet player, Bruce, if I recall. Added a Hammond halfway through to add energy and a little percussion. Also added quite fake white wah pedal on the left, which is barely noticeable. A vocal I used no air take because I preferred the performance. Replaced the kick drum and blended with a bit of the song. Also added samples to the toms to reinforce as they were only in the overheads. Snare is original. I also made an attempt to replace the snare for the second verse back to the side stick. It kind of works. Mix starts off fairly relaxed, increases in energy and level throughout, and only starts hitting the master limiter later on in the song. Oh, the end section reaches levels of 8 LFUS. Level comes out close to minus 12 LUFS and be quite effective for streaming services as it won't be turned down. Blah, 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 as it would about that. Also, interested in people's thoughts. I want to make sure writing into the master light is a good idea or whether it would have been better to just automate the master channel. Typically we write into it, but automating the master channel can help obviously keep things open. So we'll give it a listen. Thanks to Michael and everyone in Plapp who helps. You rock. Wow. And, it only went up yesterday. Excited to hear it. All right, here we go. Chris Ibbotson with What's Going On. Here we go. And we'll pick the winner at the very end. Tell us your favorite artist, singer, band, duo, doesn't matter, famous artist, any genre. Who's your favorite artist?
Sitting there with your arms crossed, I know you're wondering. It's hard to tell if our love's gone. You got me wondering too. 'Cause every time I try to talk, you don't wanna listen. No. You can't expect me, baby, to know what's going on, to keep holding on to you. So baby, baby, won't you tell me what's going on with you? Oh, baby, tell me what's going on with you? We've been right for a while now, and it's a crying shame, a crying shame. And are we just two more heartbreak players in another losing game? Oh, 'cause every time I try to talk, you don't wanna listen. No, you can't expect me, baby, to know what's going on, to keep holding on to you. So baby, baby, won't you tell me what's going on with you? Oh, baby, tell me what's going on with you? Oh,
Can we close the door? Yeah. There's a gardener outside. Wow. Absolutely amazing. Chris, I mean, my hat's off to you. It's an incredible mix. You know, first of all, can we get your multi-tracks for the new stuff you've added? Please send them to Eric, who's sitting behind me. Yep, I woke him. He went and closed the door. Oh, it's a boom, ching. No, if you can send them to Eric at producelikeapro.com, that would be absolutely superb. I love the treatment of the backgrounds. What did you do to the backgrounds?
Cause every time I try to talk, you don't wanna listen.
It's a moment.
You can't expect me, baby, to know what's going on, to keep holding on to you.
I mean, we went total Stevie Wonder on this on purpose. I mean, that was all right, you know.
What's going on with you? What's going on?
So this is my only part of the song that I have an issue with. It's great, but I have a hard time. I know that there's sax and I know there's trumpets and I know there's stuff going on there, but it's sounds too crowded. I'm sorry. Hard to find fault with Chris's stuff because it's always absolutely superb. Like the low end management on this is exactly what we're talking about. Putting this at the end really helps because we're talking about we want that low on the kick. We want definition of the bass. Chris nails it every time. He gets and understands what we're talking about, having that lows and still having the bass be fat, but not smothering the kick drum and the kick drum not smothering the bass. Chris nails it every time. He gets it. Absolutely love it. It's superb. And I love all the drum sounds. It's more of an arrangement, an amount of instruments going on. So for me here, with the sax playing a part, the trumpet, the guitars, keys, everything, and the woo, you know, the kind of vocals, it's just crowded. That's really all I would say, Chris, is just, can you mute some stuff and feature the trumpet and the sax in there?
What's going on with you? What's going on? What's going on with
The stuff that's going on the left-hand side, just mute that. And maybe put the horns in the middle. Dun, 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 dun. I love those parts, but there's a lot going on the left here that I don't really actually know what it is. That part's really nice. Maybe center it and take some of like the high-end information that's maybe on the trumpet that's getting a little lost there and just get rid of it until the very end there. Like, bow, bow, down, what's going on with you? But then under that, what's going on with you, there's like a pad of horns going on. I'd just get rid of those. Yeah, I know. I agree, Peter. It's definitely horns and trumpets, but it's just moving into the too much high end, yeah. You could bring all those parts out and exaggerate them between the vocal. So it was a fake part you added? Okay. Yeah, I think that's all it is. To be honest, I would just make it about the horns, bass, and drums with the vocals. You know, just anything else that's in there, just either bring it out or bring it down because it's just adding to a little bit of too much of the noise in the high mids. But in general, absolutely phenomenal. Can you send the multi-tracks to His Highness, Sir Derek von Erickson?
And I got the horns from Michael Garding now, so.
Oh, look at that. Michael's on it. Yeah, it's too busy in the high mids, as Chris is saying, but otherwise, absolutely superb. And Chris's low-end management is perfecto. I got 8 minutes to eat. What a tense relationship between the Americans and the British. I have no idea what you're talking about, Sergo. I'm British, but I live in America. And so I don't have any tense relationships. Quite silly. Okay, well, look, absolutely amazing. I really, really love this. Great work. What a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful week. And nearly a 3-hour, 3-hour marathon here. Amazing. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful work. Really, really great. I really appreciate everybody's time and effort and energy and everything you've done here. It's superb. Absolutely, absolutely superb. All right, you guys and girls all rock. Yannick Meek is not adding anything here, but trying to be funny. So, all right. Hope you're all doing marvelously well. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. If you're not already an Academy member, please join up. There should be a link underneath. Yes, says join the Academy here. You guys and girls absolutely rock. Thank you. Leave a like, subscribe, all of the good things that all the YouTubey people tell you. Do the YouTubey things. Like and subscribe and share and leave comments and all that stuff.
All that stuff.
And I'm going to go and stuff down my food in the next 6.5 minutes before talking to our good friend Steve Williams.